Welcome back. Well, obviously, Amazon was the epicenter of explosive e-commerce activity over the last few months. And as we've seen, media budgets followed accordingly. And, you know, under the best of circumstances, you talk to any marketer who's working in Amazon Marketplace, it's a world unto itself. And every brand comes into it differently and finds its own reasons and benefits, ups and downs for being there. Here we want to peer into that world from two very different perspectives. Let me bring in, we have our two panelists are Eloy Yndigoyen, who is the COO and CFO of Spread the Love, and Trevor Krehel, who is the Channel Marketing Manager at Seagate Technology. You guys with us?
Hi, how are you?
All right, I see Eloy. Trevor, you can if you can unmute yourself, you'll come in.
Hey,
There we are. Hi, guys. Good to see you again. So, you know, as those of you who don't know, I think most of you know Seagate. Seagate, of course, is a long-time storage solution, hard drives and various kinds of storage. Spread the Love is a more recent brand. They made their name on organic nut butters, have since become a larger spread brand, but a lot of their brand building has gone on in Amazon over the year. And they had two very different experiences in Amazon during the crisis. One, Seagate was deemed very early on a non-essential item, and yet there was high demand because of home office use. And yet Spread the Love was deemed early as an essential item, also in high demand. So let's start with Eloy. Explain very quickly what this looked like from within Amazon when the pandemic hit, how you immediately experienced it. And then later, after we get Trevor's story, we'll go back to how you responded from a marketing perspective. But go ahead, Eloy.
Sure, absolutely. And again, appreciate you guys having me, appreciate everybody on the call. So it was interesting. We actually started to see an increase in our gross sales, I'd say back in late February, but it was climbing slowly but surely. And I got a call from our chief executive, Zach Fishbane, say, hey, you're doing a great job on the Amazon side of things. I just want to know if you have changed anything or anything else has changed on our end from an advertising side of things. I said, no, it perhaps is a function of us being on the platform for quite some time and our product actually selling quite well for the last couple of years. I'd say late February, early March, all of a sudden we just saw this insane sort of skyrocket. So from a number standpoint, you were used to selling about 2,500 units per month on Amazon. That since skyrocketed to about 25,000. And for a small brand like ours, that was really a huge wake-up call from our side of things to make sure that we had enough inventory in stock. That was one thing that some of the other larger players were not able to capture. So from our side of things, it was always, I just want to make sure I have enough inventory in stock. But from a supply chain and from a sales planning side of things, how do you know what next week is going to look like if this past week was not anything on my sales forecasting chart? I couldn't have told you at the beginning of January if somebody would have said what would be the highest amount of units you would be selling on Amazon. If somebody told me it was going to be 25,000, I would have said you're out of your mind. You're crazy. But that being said, that was where we saw that number sort of take off to. It's been a really good experience from our side of things in having an opportunity to meet new customers on the platform who previously were buying Skippy, Jif, and other sort of higher end brands from that side of things, but basically making sure that we are still their organic peanut butter of choice, we're sure their unsalted almond butter of choice, and then for some of our other products too as well.
Trevor, you saw it from you had a very different experience. Now, Eloy, you got the message from Amazon early that you were deemed an essential product. So you were going to get quick delivery turnaround times. Trevor, your story was very different.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of came to a shock of us, right? Because this was happening simultaneously while, most of our brick and mortar channels were having stop shipments as well. So we were kind of putting all of our, all of our eggs in one basket at Amazon, and then it was deemed as non-essential. So really it was a scramble internally, right? Because here was our main channel, and then what even became more of a big channel with all the brick and mortar out, all of a sudden not being able to, support the supply we were bringing in. So it was definitely a shocking time for us, and trying to figure out, how do we have an offer up on Amazon? Are there ways we can work with third parties or drop ship models to bring those products in? So it was definitely a scramble and a little bit opposite of an experience, but one that definitely woke us up to try to figure out how to react to that.
So let me throw it back to you, Eloy. Tell us what was your immediate marketing response within the Amazon ecosystem? What did you do first, and how did you manage this sudden burst in popularity, but also an opportunity?
So from our side of things, it was interesting because I got a somewhat similar call that I had gotten from Zach a few weeks prior to basically say, hey, I think we should shut off all advertising because we're selling through this product so quickly. I want to shut off all advertising. That was basically what the chief executive told me. I said to him, I think that's a good idea for certain products, right? So for our number one best-selling naked organic peanut butter product, which had skyrocketed from a sales side of things, I said, yes, I see that as a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea for us to just shut off all advertising for everything. I saw this as an opportunity for us to really jump in a bit more and become more aggressive on the advertising side of things for our raspberry jam, for our unsalted almond butter, for our almond cashew butter. And I saw that as an opportunity to sort of switch around some of what we traditionally would spend on a higher volume product, which there's more competition on the organic peanut butter side of things or the all natural peanut butter side of things, and really be able to take some of that money from one part of the tool and of the platform and switch it out into our other products as well.
So you're getting overall brand lift. You're able to take advantage of it elsewhere. What are the main tools that you're using to get that recognition for the other products?
So from spread the love side of things, we are using sponsored products. So I can specifically target what product I'd like to advertise. We have just started to go into sponsored brands as well. And there's actually a new tool that you can actually create a video as well. So it's basically a short story of what the product is, who the founders are, and things along those sides as well too.
By the way, just quickly before I go back to Trevor, what were some of the immediate learnings and results from that strategy in terms of?
So our sponsored products worked very well, and I was able to find out what keywords and what specific products people were actually searching for. Perhaps they were using my actual keyword that I had up there, but they weren't actually purchasing our product. So that to me, said, okay, that was a great keyword for somebody else, not necessarily for a product like ours.
Trevor, your experience was very different. Your situation was completely different, but you were using some of those same tools, but in a very different and real-time way. Sort of walk us through the ways in which you were using things like bestseller lists and identifying third-party vendors to really work the Amazon system, even though it was cutting you off from that sort of essential status.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of the first step we did before even touching our campaigns was trying to figure out, what does our supply look like? So we need to over communicate between our marketing team, our sales team, our operations team, figure out which products that have healthy supply with Amazon, which ones we can maybe support through third party. And then from there, try to rebuild our advertising strategy. So what we did is we figured out, what are our key products that we want to focus on, what's healthy. We used that to restructure our campaigns. So we turned off some of our always on campaigns that had low supply, try to be a little bit more proactive and put that budget towards campaigns that would give them a little bit time to ramp up. Second, we did use bestsellers lists a lot, right? This is one of those tools at Amazon that gives us a really in-depth view of how we're doing against our competitors across all capacities of hard drives. And so what we did is we tracked our competitors and we tracked ourselves on that bestseller list. If we noticed that a competitor was going out of stock and falling down that list or losing relevancy, we would see if we had a product that had supply with the same capacity so we could start promoting that, right? Kind of like you and I talked about before, Steve, we saw a massive influx of traffic during this time. So whenever we could have that opportunity to capitalize on that and reach the competitor products or those keywords that people were searching for where a competitor might not show up, we want to take advantage of that. A couple other things that we use too, Amazon search reports. So it's something that's available to any seller or vendor where you can actually see what are the most common organic keyword searches that customers are using on Amazon. We usually only use that maybe once a month, once a quarter, just to reevaluate our campaigns. During this time, we were using it about once a week. And the reason why is because when this happened and the economy first took a massive hit, we noticed that customers were going to more of our lower average selling price products or lower capacity hard drives. And so what we did is every single week we would check to see what's the most commonly searched hard drive customers are looking for. Let's try to react and shift budget towards that. It was a lot different than what we usually do because most of our campaigns are always on campaigns and we just, let them run and optimize every now and then. But this was a very reactive approach that we took.
Now, I want to throw it back to Eloy because one of the things that Trevor was seeing was this idea of a kind of brand fluidity, and he was able to take advantage of people of being able to see where the competition was running low. In your case, you saw sort of a similar phenomenon, but one that I hear from a lot of marketers working in Amazon, and that was this sort of accidental discovery that was going on during the height of this crisis, is that as people were running out of supply, there was a tremendous opportunity for brands to come in and suddenly get noticed where they never would have been noticed before. Tell us a little bit about how you recognized that and took advantage of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was really a huge part of how we continued to grow was, as I said earlier, just making sure our inventory was always there and always on. I was amazed at how some of the larger brands, whether it be an almond butter brand, an organic peanut butter brand, a non-organic peanut butter brand, almond cashew jam, for example, they just were not prepared, right, for something like this. And if you were to purchase an unsalted almond butter, let's say from a separate brand, it wouldn't be shipped to your house until July 27th, let's say, if you were to buy it right now, if we were at the height of the pandemic. So from our side of things, it was to make sure we have that inventory there to really be able to have Amazon process those orders in a quick period of time with a quick turnaround. Because if you're shopping for unsalted almond butter or just regular almond butter on Amazon and you see one that's going to arrive to you by June 14th and the other one's going to arrive July 27th, obviously I'm going to choose that one that's going to arrive a lot sooner.
Let me ask both of you, since we're seeing this sort of bouncing around among brands, what your strategies are post-crisis for retaining those customers. Is there anything that you're doing on the marketing side to make sure that your brand sticks rather than people simply going back to their old habits? Trevor?
Yeah, for us, we kind of shifted our category focus, right? So not to get too in depth here, but we have a bunch of different hard drive categories, whether it's gaming, network attached storage, internal, external drives. And what we tried to do is really shift focus to what was going to stick for the long term with this pandemic that hit. So two of our main focuses were external hard drives and game drives, actually, right? We saw this massive traffic lift in all of our game drives because a lot of people were stuck at home purchasing their first console. So that's something that I think is going to stick for the long term, right? It's something where we gained a lot of share within that space and we want to hold and maintain that share. And then also try to, reach those customer needs too. So trying to innovate, come up with custom edition drives that make sense for a lot of these game launches coming up. And then on the external side too, kind of like what you mentioned, we see this massive traffic lift because of the home office setup, right? And this is something that probably isn't going to go away anytime soon. So what we try to do is cater a lot of our marketing content and our messaging and our assets to really attract customers that are looking for that ease of use home setup within a hard drive.
Now, Eloy, you have a real challenge. I mean, maybe we should have mentioned this first up. The price of a jar of your nut spread is not negligible. So there's every inclination for a lot of people to go back and buy that very cheap Skippy jar. Why don't you tell us how much it costs and how are you going to meet the challenge of making sure that you really keep those people stuck on your peanut butter? Sorry.
Yeah, and it's definitely a higher end item. So our Amazon price is $12, $12.99 right now. One thing that it's been interesting because our product is an organic product. It's just one ingredient, organic peanuts, right? So if you make peanut butter with just the actual organic peanuts, you put it in the grinder, it comes out, it's going to be very watery. We don't include any palm oil. We don't include any chemicals to basically make it like your old traditional Skippy and Jifs of the world, where if you try to stir it around, it's not going to move, right? So I think one piece of feedback that we've gotten from a lot of these new customers are they're like, it's so watery, it doesn't taste anything like my Skippy or my Jif. And we try to explain to them that that's the reason for that is because it's healthier for you. There are no stabilizers, there are no chemicals, there's no palm fruit oil, there's none of that extra stuff that helps make the Skippies and the Jifs of the world shelf stable up to God knows how long, right? So it's really making sure we educate the consumer on why they chose our product in the first place, and then to make sure that they try to come back. That being said, we are in the works of creating a brand new product right now, which will be a much larger jar, but it will be a non-organic product. So it will still be in that peanut butter category, but I'm of the understanding that regardless of what's going on in the stock market right now, which all of a sudden everything's okay again, the stock market's sort of, roaring higher, I still see a lot of potential for an item from our side of things that, I'm in the understanding that some of these customers won't come back, because if you lose your job, you're probably going to be not spending as much on an organic jar of peanut butter. But if we can come out with a lower priced item on a per ounce basis, which we are in the works right now, hopefully we'll have something by the end of June, early July, and actually launch that on Amazon to hopefully those same customers who saw us and purchased us in the first place, who perhaps were buying a Skippy or a Jif in the past, we'll be able to show them that value from our side of things.
I want to signal our audience that we're going to go to Q&A in a second. I've got one last question. So by the way, again, use your hand raising tool to get in queue to ask a question. My last one, what are the biggest takeaways for each of you from this experience about the Amazon ecosystem, how it works, how to work it best? Are a lot of these things that you're doing permanent? Are you going to be making substantial changes as a result? Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, I think the biggest learning that we had was our reliance on one channel, right? When everything is good, it's great. But when that channel gets cut off, obviously, it puts the company at jeopardy in a lot of ways. So I think that was the biggest learning. And then some of the takeaways were to be a little bit more engaged with our ads, right? When you have an always on campaign, it might be something that you're not always looking at. You're not changing your bids or your keyword strategy at all. And so I think with all of this, it gives us an idea of, hey, maybe we should put a portion of our budget towards kind of a reactive approach every single week, right? Let's look into competitors going forward. Let's see where they're out of stock. Can we shift some additional dollars during that week? And then to your point too, some of the permanent changes, I think, the messaging in our content around home office, around gaming is something that's going to last for a while. And just trying to take full advantage of that, make it an easy customer experience to find that storage solution for whatever their home office setup is, or whatever type of gaming that they're doing, anything that, makes them a more comfortable user experience within their storage solution.
Eloy?
So I think from a learning experience, really having a solid understanding of how do we educate the customer on what our product is, why our product is more expensive. And as I mentioned before, a lot of the feedback we received, and some of the feedback was not very positive from a customer side of things, was that the product is too watery. How come when I drip it out of a jar, it just sort of all falls by the wayside? Really making an understanding on our side of things that what type of content do we have out there on our product page? What type of content can be improved to really let the customer know what they're purchasing first? And then as far as my experience and what we've learned to take away to sort of move forward, it's actually interesting because as the pandemic was hitting, we shifted a lot of our advertising budget from our top selling organic peanut butter to some of our slower performing items, which have since propped up quite a bit from an average side of things. I've now shifted that back to our organic peanut butter because I've seen the other ones, the almond butters, the almond flax, the raspberry jam, marionberry jam, and you to have much higher sales numbers on a 12-week basis, but our organic peanut butter has slowed down.
Lisa, do we have time for a question, or do we have to move on?
Let me see. Well, we are pretty delayed, unless you have one more question that you need to ask, but we're pretty much you should be cutting out by about now. We went a little long.
We will wrap up. Eloy, Trevor, thank you so much. By the way, one quick one, Trevor, was it worth it, that sort of near real time response to competitors? Did that net enough so that you're going to keep doing that?
100%. Yeah, we were skeptical going into it, but I think it's something that really worked in our favor, and it's something that none of our other competitors were doing. And because of that massive traffic lift that we were seeing, it made total sense, and we could see those results real time.
Wow. All right. Eloy, Trevor, thank you so much for joining us.